Back in 1991, workers unearthed me from the Champ de Mars site in Montreal. Many wondered who was concealed under this appearance. Some saw the Virgin Mary in me, or an angel. But what proof could there be of that? After all, I could also be a goddess of antiquity, or the mother of all archaeologists. Why not? First, let me show you around. We're in La Réserve des collections archéologiques de la Ville de Montréal, the archives of the City of Montreal's archaeological collection. I know every inch, every room and shelf here. Since 2005, the Réserve has been housed on Peel Street, in one of the buildings of the old Dow Brewery, an immense complex that thrived in its glory days. It so happens, now the place has a newfound vocation. My realm is definitely unique. Indeed, it's the most splendid municipal archaeological archive in Quebec. Its environment conforms to the highest museum conservation standards, with carefully controlled temperature and humidity. The fitting out of my fine digs was made possible thanks to the contributions of 3 levels of government. Here, the archaeologists are on a mission, or rather several missions, I should say. The first is to conserve hundreds of thousands of artifacts gathered on some 200 sites across Montreal. Thousands of boxes and hundreds of shelves permit the conservation of all these discoveries. What's more, in the basement we find the heavy and oversized objects, mastodons lowered thanks to a powerful lift. Like detectives of the past examining evidence, the archaeologists working here start by processing the artifacts. Sometimes, when objects show signs of contamination, such as mold or insects, they must first pass muster in the quarantine room, behind sealed doors. Under the archaeologist's magnifying glass, the artifacts reveal some of their best-kept secrets. For example, their origin, their function, or even some of their most surprising characteristics can be determined. This analytic work must take into account a multitude of data gathered during digs by means of rigorous methodology. The Réserve also houses all the records of archaeological activity conducted on the island of Montreal, along with an imposing reference library. Nothing escapes the archaeologists. The archaeological objects archived in the Réserve span no less than 4,000 years of history. These objects are the legacy of the different populations that occupied the territory of Montreal, starting with the Amerindian cultures. There are also sources of artifacts dating from the founding of Ville-Marie in the mid-17th century up until the Industrial Revolution, while others date back only to 1950. Why conserve such objects? Because they are part of our heritage. The Réserve is like a cultural mosaic that bears witness to different periods of our history. Not all objects that pass through the Réserve's doors receive the same treatment. Only those recognized for their remarkable archaeological interest are integrated into the reference collection. This collection contains the archive's exceptional objects, classified and catalogued with care. The most prized are even restored to their former splendor by the conservators. Almost all files for these 8,500 objects are posted on the InfoMuse and Artefacts Canada websites, accessible to anyone who wants to delve into the reference collection. Don't look for me, though. You won't find me. I'm said to be out of context. After all, archaeology has its limits. However, the contents of the Réserve are not jealously guarded for eternity. The artifacts are regularly loaned to museums or researchers. This nourishes the body of research that allows us to enrich our knowledge of the past. In some universities, they are employed for didactic purposes to further research for master's or doctoral theses. There is no doubt the Réserve's collections are dynamic. Let's not forget the display of archaeological objects outside the Réserve. Let me give you an example. The Réserve houses stones from ancient fortifications. Some of these stones have been returned to their original location on the Champ de Mars site in Old Montreal. The Réserve is a place few have the privilege to enter. But sometimes, the Réserve opens its doors to the public for certain thematic events. These are unique occasions to discover the facility and its treasures. But look lively, places are limited. And I personally make sure the visitors behave themselves. The Réserve isn't a public market. It's a meeting place for knowledge and memories. Thanks to the Réserve, the conservation and protection of artifacts is assured. The facilities made available to archaeologists promote exchange, knowledge sharing, and multidisciplinary research. Discovering our history also enriches today's world with knowledge and discoveries. With the Réserve, the perpetuity of our collective memory is in good hands.